Sitting Bull of the Hunkpapa Lakota, became one of the most iconic leaders of the Plains. Known for his spiritual visions, he united tribes against U.S. expansion. His leadership culminated in the defeat of Custer at the Battle of Little Bighorn in 1876. Even in captivity, he was revered as a symbol of Native resistance and dignity. Crazy Horse, the Oglala Lakota warrior, was famed for his courage and enigmatic presence. He refused to be photographed, insisting his image belonged only to the spirit world. His bravery at battles like Little Bighorn made him a legend among his people. He was killed in 1877 under disputed circumstances, becoming a martyr of Native resistance. Red Cloud was one of the few Native leaders to win a war against the United States. His campaign, known as Red Cloud's War, forced the U.S. to abandon forts along the Bozeman Trail. He later chose diplomacy, traveling to Washington to defend his people's rights. His long life bridged the era of war and uneasy peace on the reservations. Geronimo of the Apache became a name feared across the Southwest. Known for his daring raids and ability to evade capture, he resisted both Mexican and American forces. His surrender in 1886 marked the end of major armed Native resistance. Later, he became a symbol of resilience, appearing in world fairs and parades. Chief Joseph of the Nez Perce is remembered for his eloquence as much as his leadership. His people were pursued on a 1,000-mile retreat before being forced to surrender. His famous words, "I will fight no more forever," echoed the grief of a nation. To many, he embodied dignity in defeat. White Eagle of the Ponca endured the forced removal of his people in 1877, the Ponca Trail of Tears. He traveled to Washington, D.C., confronting President Hayes and protesting the injustice. His efforts helped inspire the landmark Standing Bear case, a milestone in Native rights. White Eagle's life was spent fighting not with weapons, but with words and diplomacy. Iron Tail was an Oglala Sioux chief remembered for his courage and dignity during a time of great change. He carried Lakota traditions with pride while traveling with Buffalo Bill's Wild West show, becoming a voice of his people on the world stage. Until his death in 1916, he stood as a symbol of strength and resilience. Spotted Tail rose from famed warrior to statesman, steering his people through the hardest years of U.S. expansion. He made multiple trips to Washington, argued for peace and education, and protected Lakota interests when war could win no more. In 1881, he was killed by Crow Dog, ending a life that bridged battle and diplomacy. His legacy endures as a leader who fought first with courage and later with strategy and words. Bigfoot, leader of the Miniconjou Lakota, sought peace as he guided his band toward Pine Ridge in 1890. Instead, they were intercepted by U.S. soldiers, and the tragedy of Wounded Knee followed. Hundreds of men, women, and children were killed in the snow. His frozen body became one of the most haunting symbols of Native suffering and the end of the Indian Wars. Chief Seattle of the Suquamish and Duwamish peoples was famed for his powerful voice and wise counsel. He sought peace with settlers while trying to safeguard the future of his people. The city of Seattle carries his name, a living reminder of his presence. Though later speeches attributed to him were embellished, the truth remains. He was a leader who balanced strength with wisdom. Little Wolf of the Northern Cheyenne was a strategist of rare skill, admired for discipline and restraint. In 1878, he co-led his people's desperate return to Montana, defying forced relocation. His tactics saved lives and inspired awe, even among his enemies. In his later years, he lived quietly, remembered as one of the greatest Cheyenne leaders. Touch the Clouds was renowned for his towering height and calm strength. A cousin of Crazy Horse, he was admired not only for his size, but for his steady leadership in battle and peace. When the wars were lost, he laid down his arms with dignity and turned to guiding his people in reservation life. His very presence symbolized endurance in a broken era. Hollow Horn Bear, a Brule Lakota, was a warrior in his youth and a statesman in his later years. He fought at battles like Little Bighorn, but later became a respected diplomat. His dignified portrait was even used on U.S. stamps and currency. He died in Washington while attending President Wilson's inauguration, a Plains warrior whose life ended in the nation's capital. White Calf of the Blackfeet was a skilled orator and negotiator during a time of shifting borders. He signed treaties that reshaped Montana and spoke forcefully for his people's rights. Some claimed his likeness was used on the buffalo nickel, though this remains debated. His photographs show a proud leader whose voice carried across generations. American Horse the Younger began as a warrior but became a peacemaker. He urged education and adaptation, believing his people must survive by balancing tradition with new realities. He traveled to Washington to argue that Native voices must be heard. His eloquence carried both sorrow and hope, bridging the old life and the new. Standing Bear of the Ponca made history in a courtroom, not on the battlefield. In 1879, he declared before a U.S. judge, "I am a man." The court agreed, recognizing Native Americans as persons under the law. His case was a landmark in civil rights, and his courage lives on as a reminder that justice can be won with words. Washakie, 1798-1900. Washakie of the Shoshone lived more than a century, his life spanning the Old World and the New. He was a warrior of great skill, but also a diplomat who signed treaties and demanded schools for Shoshone children. His wisdom earned him respect among both his people and U.S. leaders. When he died in 1900, he was mourned as one of the last great statesmen of the Plains. Rain in the Face, 1835 to 1905. Rain in the Face was a Hunkpapa Lakota warrior known for his ferocity. He fought at Little Bighorn, and legends claimed he struck down Custer's brother, though the truth is uncertain. His fierce reputation made him a symbol of defiance. In old age, he admitted the Lakota had lost, yet he carried his pride and spirit until the end. Gall, 1840 to 1894. Gall was one of the great war chiefs of the Hunkpapa Lakota. At Little Bighorn, his tactical brilliance helped seal Custer's fate. Later, he turned toward peace, breaking with Sitting Bull and adapting to reservation life. His story reflects the difficult balance between resistance and survival in a changing world. Quanah Parker, 1845 to 1911. Quanah Parker, son of a Comanche chief and an Anglo-American captive, embodied two worlds. He fought as the last great Comanche war leader, and later became a rancher, politician, and spiritual leader of the Native American Church. He met presidents, yet never abandoned his heritage. His portraits show a stern, proud man who carried the weight of two nations on his shoulders.